Hi, my name is Cath Conlon, and I'm the founder and executive director of Blackwood Educational Land Institute. And people always ask me where the name Blackwood comes from, and it comes from my grandmother, and her mother was full-blood Shawnee Indian. When men had to go off to war, they really wanted their families to start focusing on raising animals rather than crops, because the women could manage the animals, on a larger scale than they could ever think about managing produce.
My name's Sophie Moore. I'm a postdoctoral fellow in environmental justice at Rice University. What do we mean when we talk about extraction? We're in the Gulf, right? We're near Houston. You probably think of petro extraction, the extraction of fossil fuels. But at the same time, extraction isn't just about petro industry. So it's also about any process that allows you to turn what comes from the earth into money. Extraction is sort of a short-term game, in that in the process of extraction you deplete what is valuable from the land and from the space around it. You can only continue to do that for a certain amount of time before you begin to have to add chemical fertilizers or other things to restore what it is that you have taken from the land. So with the production of cotton or soybeans or any kind of monocrop, that's something you would have to do. What happens when you begin to farm regeneratively is that you can continue growing on the land in differing patterns, say according to the season, according to the climate as it changes, according to changing weather or climatic conditions. So I think a really important aspect of this farm is that it is an educational space, right? And so for folks to come and to learn about what this region means ecologically, what grows here, what has been successful here, what it offers us, to have all of this abundance growing around us is really important. So a cotton plantation doesn't return anything to the community other than the people who are getting money from selling that crop, right? But because this is an open space that invites the community to come and interact with it, it has a certain social value that is in addition to, say, the economic value or the ecological value of the farm. So that's part of the regenerative practice of the farm, to give something back to its surroundings.
So this right here is kernza. And kernza is an intermediate grain or a perennial grain that was created by the Land Institute in Salina, Kansas. And we are doing a project, a little bit of a research with them in this little plot right here, because they truly want kernza to be a grain that can grow anywhere around the world, in hot areas, in cold areas, everywhere. And the one place that they have a little bit of an issue is humidity, and that's here. But as you can see, we're having some success with it, so we're very excited. It's a very tiny plot, but it can get bigger.
One thing to note about this farm is that you'll see lots of different kinds of plants cultivated in the same small geographic area, right? And that's one of the things that I mean when I talk about regenerative farming, that it's not just planting one thing intensively in a particular place, the way cotton was grown in this region, maybe even on this land, but planting a diverse array of things that work together to help the soil, to help each other as plants, and to help us. And so when we talk about regeneration, we're not just talking about sustainability, like things that are good for the planet, but things that are good to grow together in a food system, things that are good for the soil, things that are good for our human health and the health of animals. And so that's why you'll see a variety of crops all planted together in the tunnels and also in the fields. If you look at this, it looks so different from the lettuce that you might find in the grocery store, right? Like that you buy in the bag. It's the romaine hearts that are already packaged for you. It says wash 3 times, it's already clean, right? Well, this has dirt on it, and it's growing right here, but you can still eat it right out of the ground like this if I wanted to eat a leaf, because it's grown without the use of pesticides and chemicals, right? And so to understand that, like, this is what lettuce is supposed to look like, it's not necessarily supposed to look like how it looks in a plastic bag on the supermarket shelf, is really, really important. And it's just so beautiful. And this time in the spring is one of the only times that you can grow tender greens like this, because it gets so hot here. And so this is a very special, beautiful, precious leaf to see at this time of the year.
This house is actually built out of bales of straw. And straw is not different from hay. So straw comes from wheat, oats, or rice, and that's it, nothing else. Hay actually has a lot of nitrogen, a lot of food components to it, and that means that the insects and the varmints want to eat it. But when it's straw, there's only carbon there, and so it's not going to decompose the way that hay would. And the R factor on this, which is your insulation factor, is an R60, so it's great with heating and cooling and so forth. And straw is also a regenerative product. One of our goals as a nonprofit educational institute is to instill in parents how incredibly important it is for our children, their children, to become farmers. And you've got to be really smart in order to be a successful farmer. You've got to be an engineer, you've got to be a chemist, you've got to be a chef, you've got to be a caretaker, you've got to be a great bookkeeper, good at marketing. Those are the people that will be very successful. And it's multitasking to the highest level possible. A farm without people is a very sad place, because a farm without people does not work. And so it's a huge part, a huge magnet for creating community.
This kind of farming takes all those skills that you can't have just in one person, right? And so you need that community aspect and the investment of people who are invested in the farm, and how beautiful it is and how good it is for the earth and for our community to keep it going.
Yes.
And that's part of what we mean by regeneration, I think, as well, is like, how can we create a system that maybe, does take a lot of input on the short term, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of labor, a lot of financial input, but ultimately reduces the cost of how we live in our food system over the long term, right? So like Cath is saying, lower hospital bills, better health overall, better community health, better population health, when you come to understand what is our role in the food system.